everybody, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and today we're taking a look at a franchise that has loads of merchandise. And I don't really feel like I need to give it any more of a lofty introduction, but it's Lord of the Rings. There's so many different types of things you can buy for Lord of the Rings, and honestly, I don't get tired of any of it. And one of my favorites in the last few years has been Diamond Select's Lord of the Rings action figures. And in my opinion, they are some of the best figures that Diamond Select has ever made. They look amazing, they are sculpted so nicely, the outfits are screen accurate, the accessories are off the wall. There's very little bad about them, plus that initial wave had to build a figure of Sauron, which was just amazing. So today, it makes me very excited to let you know that Diamond Select is taking that same great craftsmanship from their action figure line and putting it now into statues. Today, we're taking a look at Diamond's first PVC figure diorama statue from the Lord of the Rings series, and that's right here. This is Aragorn. This piece resembles Viggo Mortensen's character from the sequel, The Two Towers, and is packed with all sorts of great details. I can't wait to get this thing open, but first things first, let's talk about this packaging. And to be fair, it's basically like a lot of the packaging you'd see with any of the Diamond Select statues out there. You've got an enormous window on the front that lets you see right into the box and into every nook and cranny within it. And besides that front window, there's also one on the left and the right side, as well as the Diamond Select sunroof, which Gollum really could have used, and man, I can't wait till I get to Gollum. But otherwise, it's a very simple design. You've seen it before. Nothing too special here, but it's always great to be able to see right into that packaging and know precisely what you're going to be taking home. Now, the back of the box might be a little bit less exciting because there's really not much here, and we've seen the same thing with their Diamond Select Lord of the Rings action figures. All you're really getting here is a great big photo of the statue, and that's essentially it. There's no bio, nothing else to it really whatsoever. On the very bottom, there is a quick description of what the heck the Lord of the Rings is all about, but again, it's not really specialized to who this character is, nor to the exact movie that this character is meant to be from. It's just a run-of-the-mill synopsis for the entire franchise. Right below that, it does mention that this is meant to be from Two Towers, but that's really it as far as personalization. We have an image at who's going to be next in the line, which is Gandalf. Not just any version, this is Gandalf the White, which looks pretty cool, can't wait to get him. But most importantly, it also lets us know who is behind this statue, and this was designed by Caesar and sculpted by Anissa Tachub. But that's everything you need to know about the outside of the box. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside of it, and let's get up close and personal to this Aragorn and take a look at him from all angles. And here is our Aragorn statue out of the package, and initial glance is, this is really solid, actually. You know, I was, to be completely honest, a little concerned about how it might look out of the box, but I'm actually pretty impressed so far. So I'm going to go ahead and see how far I can zoom out. All right, I guess we're going to have to go about this much before I start having my background in the shot. But yeah, we'll do it about here. And I'm going to go ahead and do a quick rotation so you guys can see all the angles. I'm actually going to move in a little bit tighter just because, you know, the sword's going to get cut off anyway. So yeah, this is our Aragorn Lord of the Rings statue. And I will mention that because of the weight of the piece, he is kind of shifting in this direction. So as we do this rotation, he's going to kind of just get a little bit lost at times. But that's the nature of what we're dealing with this particular pose. But yeah, I'm actually already pretty happy with this. You know, I was hoping for certain things with this piece. I wasn't sure if I was going to get them. But now that I look at it, everything here is exactly what I was hoping for the most part. So yeah, I'm excited to dig into this one here. And I think the first place that we're going to jump into is the face. And we're going to talk about this likeness here. And does this likeness look like Viggo Mortensen? Is this our Aragorn of the movies? And I'll give that a resounding yes. We've already seen Diamond do Lord of the Rings action figures, so we kind of know what to expect as far as their looks and their faces and their ability to get the sculpts right. But it's still pretty impressive how good this looks and how well the likeness is done. And likewise too with the paint job here. You know, paint has been something I've been very nitpicky about over the years with these statues from Diamond and also their figures. But when you keep in mind that this is, after all, a $60 statue, I think you're getting a pretty solid rendering here of Viggo and of Aragorn. And you guys can see how it's lit up here. It looks like it's just casting shadows wonderfully, so they've done a great job with that, with getting just the ability to do that, and getting all of his angles correct. You know, all the little details that matter are there with this piece. I really do like the eyes on this as well. I think the eyes are typically a place where we can kind of get lost on these Diamond statues, but here with this Aragorn, I think they nailed that. They knocked that out of the park. The beard is also very good, and beards are tough to do in toys, and especially lower end price point statues. This being one of them, but I think the beard is actually spot on. I also really think the hair is great. They really got the flow of his hair down correct. All the nice little tendrils, if you will, flowing down his head. To me, this is definitely his hair. There it is from the top too, you guys can see. They definitely got it. They did their homework on how Aragorn should look. So at the end of the day, I'm going to say that this is a really solid likeness for what this is, and I'm going to, I think, go out and live here and say it's on par with what they did for the action figure. And that shouldn't surprise you, because those have been some of the best figures, in my opinion, that Diamond has done almost in the entirety of their company's lifespan. That's a pretty big compliment, but I'm going to stick to it. So let's go ahead now and talk about this likeness and this pose. And this is meant to be the big battle from the end of the two towers. So that's why you've got in the back here this little thing of fire here. I forgot the name. Oh my goodness. I'm like, of course, immediately blanking on it, but we're going to come back to the base in a little bit. But yeah, this is the outfit. This is the pose, and it is a battle-ready Aragorn. So generally speaking, you know, I feel like I go into a lot of detail about like the artisticness of certain poses, and this one does have it. Now, as I've talked about in the past, the triangle is the strongest shape in art, and especially in sculpting. You'll see it in a lot of classical works, whether it be canvas, marble, whatever. In the case of our Aragorn here, we do have a triangle, and this would be a right triangle shape here, which is a little unusual, but we still do have the equilateral triangle, because that's kind of what we're looking for, is that. So, you know, if you want to look at it, as I mentioned, the weight is kind of going in this direction. So that's why I'm saying it's forming a bit of a right triangle, because, you know, we have a 90-degree angle right here in this piece. But it still does kind of lead you around where you're supposed to go with your eye. And that would be the tip of the sword, which is, you know, up here. And the tip is right up there. So that tip is going to be kind of our main point to form the triangle. But as you see, it moves down the body, and it brings our focus right to where it should be, which is on Aragorn. And because there's not really much else happening behind him or below him, it really does cement the piece to be that, yes, it is purely about this character and this particular space. So that's the thing, when you work with these shapes like that, for example, it is kind of telling your eye where to go and where the emphasis should be. Now, for the most part, you're not going to have this statue on display like this. You are going to have him displayed more like this, more towards the front, or maybe a 3/4 angle, because it's really all about getting that likeness. So this pose here, you can still see that same triangular shape, and it still starts with the sword, the tip of the sword. It still comes down to center him into this part, into the weight of the statue, if you will, and pulls your focus into his face. So this piece has a little bit more complexity than you might initially think. And to kind of go off of the triangles too, you can of course see a little bit of the triangle just in the legs too. So it really is very much about getting your eye to focus right up here on the likeness and where the sword is. Because to be quite honest, that is the coolest part of the statue here. And as your eye pulls into that, you get to look at the likeness. And just like a classic Rembrandt piece, which will use that sort of chiaroscuro, which I'm not going to go into, but basically the darkest dark and the lightest light, that is his face. So there it is, your eyeball just goes right to it, and it looks awesome. Now let's talk about some of the finer details on this piece as well, because there are plenty. You know, I've really enjoyed what they've done with all the outfits with the Lord of the Rings figures, and the statues, it looks like, are going to be no different and perhaps even more detailed. So one thing I noticed right away is Aragorn has his ring on this hand over here, which is a really cool, nice little touch. I'm especially enjoying the chainmail though. That's something I'm a sucker for. I love a good chainmail armor in a toy and a statue, and they really got that here. Because not only is it just nicely sculpted, it's also really wonderfully painted. It looks weathered, it looks aged, and you know, we know from that battle, it's a pretty desperate battle. So this kind of has that same vibe to it, where it's like he's seen some stuff and his armor's already been used up, it's crusty, it's old, but they still fight on. Likewise, as we kind of scroll down a little bit to his leg, you'll see, speaking about battle worn, it's covered in some mud over here. And you can see that also in the back of his coat, right there on both sides. His boots are very worn as well. Not quite caked in mud as some other statues that we've seen, but you can still see that they are dirty, they are dusty. It kind of matches that base perfectly. The front of this cloth here similarly has a lot of weathering in there. And I also just like the paint application in this piece too, as you go into those finer details, because you can really see the separation of materials. And generally speaking, if you touch this, there will be some tactile sensation here. But you know, obviously it's plastic, so it's only going to feel a certain way. It's about the look and fooling your eye to making you believe that this is leather and to believe this is chainmail. And they've accomplished that here. There is some texture on this, I should add, but it's really a lot more about the color and getting that leather look. And likewise too, same thing with the chainmail. You know, this does have the most texture in the entire statue. But they've added this like nice weathering effect to it, so it does have a little bit of a shine, but it's also got a lot of grit to it. The shiniest part of the piece would very much be the sword that he's holding here, because that's like, you know, the brightest piece here. There's not really any weathering or anything like that on the sword. It kind of just is, you know, the same color for the most part. I don't even know if you can really see anything on the handle besides what's popping out here at the end. But it's a really cool looking sword. I like that a lot. And another nice detail in this same section would be his gauntlets. These have a lot of great detail on them. They have the tree from his homeland on here, on both gauntlets, in fact, and it's nice that you can actually see it and that it's represented very clearly in that section. And what's really cool, too, is just seeing the look of this guy and seeing all the different colors that you probably wouldn't notice in the film because it's a very dark battle scene. So, you know, I never really noticed how crimson his fabric was underneath all that. We've also got a lot of really interesting pouches and things on his waist here. This little pouch over here, some more stuff going on in the back. We have a dagger. Now, the one thing I did notice that's kind of odd and maybe a little bit of a QC issue would be the scabbard here for the sword that he's using. And you can see it's a little floppy. I think it's gotten a little bent over this way. It's meant to be a little bit more straightened out, but for whatever reason, it's kind of just flopping over. I could be wrong, though. It could be that this is meant to be a softer leather, and that's why it's flopping over. Maybe it's actually accurate. I don't really know, to be completely honest, so I'm not going to really talk about it beyond that point. But again, talk about little details. I mean, he's got a tiny dagger hiding in the front section here, and it's actually sculpted in there. So even if there is maybe some QC issues of the plastic bending or warping a little bit in the packaging, and that's something you could check for when you go to buy this thing because of all those windows, at the very least you still have just lots of little details hiding everywhere. Now let's talk about this base a little bit here as well, because the base is really great, really solid. Not necessarily like super exciting, but it's accurate to what's going on here. I mean, this is the big battle that's happening at the end. At this point, the castle has been overrun by the Uruk-hai, and he's fighting just on, you know, usual dirt ground, lots of rocks and boulders everywhere. What is kind of cool is this part here. All the diamond PVC statues always have some kind of transparent plastic in them, and that's what we're getting here with this flame effect. And the cool thing about that, as I always say, is that if you have like an LED light or something, you could hide underneath it, you could light that thing up, and you'll get this great red glow all over the piece. I think that would make this really stand out. But otherwise, it's a really solid looking base. You've got some great texture, nothing really too fancy that we haven't seen before, but it really works here. It blends in nicely with the statue, and again, helps kind of move your eye around the piece. So overall, I really dig this Aragorn piece here. It's got this great classic heroic pose, excellent sculpting, perfect likeness, I'm gonna say. Just really lots of great little details everywhere that make this piece stand out. And the fact is, we're not really gonna probably get a Two Towers figure of Aragorn here. For the most part, I think Diamond's basically just doing like their one version of each character, and that's gonna be it. So we've already gotten an Aragorn figure. I doubt we're gonna get a second. So if you're looking to get more versions of this character, then the statue's gonna be the place to go, and you're not gonna be disappointed. I mean, look at this thing. There's so much cool parts to it. There's so much great detail. I mean, I love sword and sorcery and high fantasy, and it's really cool to have something like this to put on my display because it really stands out. It's a great homage to the films and to the books, and I can't say enough good things about it. The only other thing I can say is that I just want some more of these, and as you saw earlier, we do have another piece coming soon. Gandalf is going to be next in this line. I believe following that, we might be getting a cave troll. I know that's kind of been the intent of Diamond with these pieces, is to do more to also fill out the toy line a little bit, and obviously they're not going to make an articulated version of the cave troll. Even as a Build-A-Figure, they're just not going to do it. But to get a version of him, and maybe even the Balrog in statue form, that would size up pretty well with the figures. So if they do that, that's going to be awesome for collectors out there. But as for me, I'm giving this a very high rating, definite like, and definitely worth adding to your collection. And speaking of, if you want to add this Aragorn to your collection, go ahead and check out some of the affiliate links in the description of this video below. There you'll find a few different places you can pick up this Aragorn, and if you click any of those links and buy anything from those places, it supports this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. So that's our look at Diamond Select's Lord of the Rings Gallery Aragorn PVC diorama statue from Diamond Select. I think I said that twice, but I don't care. It's from Diamond Select, in case you missed it the first time. I'm Matthew, this has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.